Welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday. It is Friday Junior. Welcome, everybody. Heat, how's it going? Michael Hassler, Quad Bennett, welcome. Stop, we're just wrapping up school for the week. Nice. Awesome. That's good to hear. Welcome. For those of you that are joining us today, thank you. Thank you for joining. I do apologize. It's not the normal. It's not the normal time. But it is what it is. I still wanted to make a stream, even if it's a short stream. Even if it's a short and sweet stream, I still feel like it needed to be done. There are definitely things to talk about. The reason why we're doing the stream at this time, about 2 hours early, is Mrs. Truth has been on a trip, and she's coming home tonight. And as soon as it's like right under 5 o'clock, I'm gonna take a shower and go pick her up from the airport. So before we get started, of course, thank you all for hanging out. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat. If you want to support the channel, the usual disclosures, make sure you hit the like button on YouTube, hit the follow button here on Twitch, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and consider checking out the merch store with !merch. It really does help us out. I appreciate the support. Let's get started, folks. We gotta run through this. Just because the stream is going to be slightly slightly condensed doesn't mean the content machine stops. I think we should probably start here.
D-Wax Shellac says, have you guys seen Sean Actual Justice Warrior's take on MR's views on crime and squatting? I do think his take on Emma and Binder having a glib take on crime has a point, but I would...
Who? Love it.
Like to see a debate or at least a rebuttal but I do realize he might be clout jumping. I don't care.
The stupid asshole who thought the George Floyd effect was, no, he's a moron. You should be embarrassed for thinking he had a point. And if you want us to respond to it, you should elaborate and tell us what his point is instead of making us watch that fucking moron.
Yeah, I mean,
You can kiss
in
my
the
ass.
end, am I glib on occasion? Yes. Yes.
You know what's glib is to say, like some people did, that this sort of retail theft ring thing has nothing to do with want and privation, as maybe somebody, actual justice warrior is a fan of, said, when we know that the people that are actually doing the boosting for retail thefts, those videos that apparently some people like to play for YouTube revenue, that those people doing that are almost like 9 in 10 doing so to support addictions. So I don't think we're the ones being glib. I think some other people are being really glib, and I think, like, keep pushing us.
Well, I mean, I just like the idea of it. I'm going to be glib about claims about crime.
Yeah, I mean, like, everybody should be glib when addressing actual justice warrior. Okay, that's just. I'm sorry. That's just like the standard procedure that you should, the standard attitude that you should adopt again when interacting with actual justice warrior. Because, like, there's nothing to actually go back and forth about, because everything the premise already starts on a false false base. He takes statistics, twists them around, and and then paints narratives based on those already twisted and warped statistics that he cherry picks. Just because they're online doesn't mean they have good points. Exactly. People criticize women for their attitudes all the time, whether it's warranted or not. That's also a good point. I'm pretty sure, yes, that's actually an excellent point. That's also probably part of what's happening in this scenario too.
Crime, given the
Hysterical
fact that crime is down substantially, and that's not being represented in the coverage of crime nationally. So,
Yeah, right, because they're trying to paint a specific narrative. Right, she's correct. And here's another thing, like, all of those, like, retail companies have come out, most of the ones that have been, highlighted over and over and over again. those companies have come out and said, like, actually, we've overblown what we've been claiming. Here, I mean, what is it? Was it CVS? I forget. Excuse me. This wasn't even that hard to find. The National Retail Federation, which is a conglomerate of it's a lobby group. I mean, look. This was not that long ago. This was like 4 or 5 months ago, okay? You can go freaking find this. The National Retail Federation has walked back its claim that organized retail crime accounted for nearly half of all the shrink losses because analysis was incorrect and based on flawed data. Yeah, those same freaking videos you kept seeing over and over and over again, and that was the excuse for these people shutting down or raising prices. The leading retail lobbying group has walked back a key claim about shrink or inventory loss from various sources after a news investigation revealed that the analysis was incorrect. The Friday retraction from the National Retail Federation underscores just how difficult it is for the industry to accurately measure the impact. Nah, it's to paint a narrative. The claim contradicted the NRF's own annual shrink survey that allowed all external that showed all external theft, not just incidents related to organized groups, accounted for just 37% of those losses. Damage is already done. It's in the narrative that people are just dirty thieves, right? And, like, there's a massive crime problem, and Usually that's tied in with racism, that there's a crime problem, and a specific group of people is perpetuating this crime, because they see that same video over and over and over again, pumped through all these news articles, and these companies have tried to push that idea, but yeah, it's not the case. Exactly, libel. Not the case. It's bullshit. Has actual Justice Warrior walked any of that back? No. I'm trying to find Yeah, okay. So like things like this. Exactly. Stay scared. Like, videos like, hey, where'd it go? It was like 2 months ago. Where is it? Yeah, like this video. Brooklyn Mall bans teens after crime spree. Like these type of videos is exactly this right here. Is what we're talking about. Stay scared. I mean, like, look at this. Look at it. Anyways. None of those videos are a retraction from actual Justice Warrior. So yeah, there's nothing to debate here. There's nothing to engage with. There's nothing to interact with here because it's all based on a false narrative painted. So we can't really go off anything because it's all bullshit to begin with.
I don't know what the claim is, but the reaction that I have to that is just basically, I do think that these crime warriors are deserving of mockery because they're not able to actually reckon with the data that we're dealing with, which is that, yes, there was a spike in crime in 2021 and 2022 in the wake of the pandemic.
Correct.
When people were desperate and
Right, like these people will pontificate and sit on a fucking, on the soapbox talking about crime, but they never actually want to address any of the underlying issues. And when you actually point out the socioeconomic circumstances that causes this to be, that causes the environment where crime like this thrives or crime like this happens, they reject that. They reject that completely. If you were to ask actual Justice Warrior, whether or not you want to actually improve things by making sure that there's education, making sure that education is free, higher education, making sure that people have health care, right? Making sure that people aren't as in poverty, trying to address poverty, trying to address homelessness. all of that, if you actually bring that up to actual Justice Warrior, which people have in debates against him, he rejects any of that. He rejects any of that.
The crime that occurred after that was correlated, but we also have seen a steep drop in all kinds of violent crime and crime in general. Since the 80s, it's been on a decline. There was a
Right, and it's even at the peak, even at the peak that Emma was talking about, it is still incredibly, it is still well below, like, you know, in the trend of like decades of like crime, you know, data. You can see just how like the trend is just low and low and low, and even in that peak that Emma's talking about during the pandemic, even that didn't break that much, you know, in comparison to decades ago.
a brief 2-year pick back up, and now we are down once again by every single metric, whether it be violent crime, shoplifting, theft. Nationally, the United States is on a crime decline, and I don't understand how you can cover crime as this, you know, actual crime warrior, actual crime justice warrior
Actual
says,
cop mouthpiece.
right.
Actual cop mouthpiece. I like that one better, honestly. Man, the gall to the gall to call yourself actual justice warrior.
Like how that can't be central to your coverage if you're covering it honestly. So
He's just, I mean, him and the people who are fans of him are just recycling police talking points, and whether they want to roll their eyes at a term like propaganda or not, the shoe fucking fits. Here's a Sunday Times correspondent, Louis Callahan, traveled on New York Times for 24 hours to find out how dangerous it really is. Let's play this.
It's 9 a.m. I'm 2 hours into my 24-hour subway ride. I'm at Grand Central Station, which is full of commuters, people going to work, people coming back from work after the night shift. And really, like, the whole of New York is here. The subway's the great leveler. My friend has just bought me a sandwich. I've spoken to Catholic schoolgirls who are unafraid of going in the tube, and grown men who are absolutely terrified.
all right, well, don't eat on the subway.
7 p.m. Fulton Street Station.
Hey,
Loving life. I'm about to go meet a retired NYPD sergeant who is going to tell us about crime in the subway and whether we should be worried. Really interestingly, he actually said that sending loads more cops down into the subway, which is what the mayor and the governor have been doing at the moment, is not necessarily the answer. So there's actually, he said, an incredible...
Huh. An actual justice warrior did a video about the fucking mayor, you know, sending like the National Guard and increased police presence there.
low number of crimes that are taking place here. So one per about a million rides. And sending huge amounts of police isn't going to stop that incredibly low number of crimes, he says. We're in Queens, quite far out on the line. And we were just in the Bronx. And the trains now, they're just full of people going home. Everyone's just like, tired, heading home for the day. All right, it's 11 o'clock. I'm in Grand Central. And I've got a burger.
So yeah, I mean, I think we kind of get the point.
she was not assaulted.
She was killed 5 seconds later.
Oh gosh. Good, you cut it off. We don't want to show that.
So, but she made an observation that it's the people who never ride this thing that are the most afraid of it, and the people that ride it every day, which is also, guess what? Guess who lives in New York? We do.
Yes, people that live in New York and take I take
Guess who
public
said
transit every day.
Guess who
right?
said enjoy the National Guard in your subways? People who don't live here.
Yeah, I mean, no one really enjoys it, and even Eric Adams admitted in the Breakfast Club interrogation.
He ran away from it
by Olayemi.
Yeah, interrogation. That was freaking beautiful. British, isn't it, Governor? Beautiful takedown. By Olayemi. You absolutely go follow her channel if you want to see that video. Whew. But yeah, is actual. Yeah, she did bring it indeed. Is actual Justice Warrior gonna make any freaking comments on that? No. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not gonna be. He's not interested in any of this.
That New York, he says on one side of his mouth that New York City is like this is the safest it's ever been, but also we need cops in the subways because people feel better about cops being there, even though crime is down. But when she pressed him on it, the people that he's listening to are not the people that are not necessarily representative of some communities. It's usually people that are in Manhattan as opposed to the other boroughs. And we all, let's put this up there so that there's no ambiguity that I just sent. The crime rate and what the FBI data shows. The FBI and law enforcement are not incentivized to portray crime as down, by the way. They have every disincentive to do so. So based on that kind of standard and also their past consistency on reporting this accurately for the most part, I'm fine with using the FBI data as the source for national crime rates. Let's scroll down.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like, you don't even have to qualify that. Like, if you're gonna look up crime statistics, it would kind of make sense that you would go to the source, right? Like, what is this game? Jesus.
New FBI data confirms previous indications that crime in the U.S. declined significantly in 2023, continuing a post-pandemic...
Yeah, like, are we gonna see a freaking video from actual Justice Warrior covering this? No. No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not.
Trend.
And just to reference, sorry to cut you off, but just to reference our buddy, the actual Justice Warrior, it doesn't say the post-George Floyd effect trend. It says the post-pandemic trend.
Right.
So, like, it's fucking embarrassing, frankly. And I'll just say it. Anna retweets that guy. It's fucking embarrassing.
So the new fourth quarter numbers showed a 13% decline in murder from 2020.
Yeah, Anna Kasparian has not gotten any, Anna Kasparian has not gotten any better. Whew.
From 2022, a 6% decline in reported violent crime and a 4% decline in reported property crime. Can we put this up? That's based on data from around 13,000 law enforcement agencies policing about 82% of the U.S. population that provided the FBI with data through December. We'll see those final numbers in October once they get the full data, but all of...
Yeah, like, I mean, I think the point, like, you know, if you were actually if you were actually interested in covering like crime and how you know, covering crime and whatnot, this would be one of your top articles, right? Like, if your specific thing is covering crime, this would be one of your top articles. Like, man, if I was a crime dude and I saw a video or an article citing like the FBI showing, you know, how crime has been on the down, I would definitely have to report that, right? Like, that's kind of part of the whole shtick if I'm gonna be the crime guy, right? Which is supposedly what actual Justice Warrior is supposed to be about, but we're not going to get that from him because exactly we're not going to get that from him because he's a propagandist. Exactly. Yeah, and I used to defend her up to a point. I was literally just thinking, I'm so glad Emma got out of there. I agree. And I think, you know, quite a few people did, because, man, to watch that was difficult. To watch Anna go down the path that she ultimately decided it is pretty difficult. Like, man.
these indicators are trending in the direction that we're describing here. So
Also, the left is right about crime and should be listened to and not maybe pathologized by leading people in the media about it.
so
Yeah.
yeah, there we go.
The gall to be accused of not caring and being glib. I fucking resent that. I actually know people who work retail and stuff like that, and I care about what is driving those incidents that, again, we know are inflated by the retailers themselves and the police departments themselves. But what's actually behind, like, the idea that we don't care about that is a fucking smear, and I resent it so much. And I've bit my tongue so much. And if people want to keep going down that road, then I'm willing to go down it too.
Well, I mean, it reminded me, I guess, a little bit of what we touched on yesterday about male loneliness, which the right has decided that they have a complete copyright over, and that the left doesn't care about male loneliness. Well, we do. We just prescribe not, personal pathologies, or look at how these other human beings are causing this massive societal ill. It's probably feminists that are just making all these men resentful.
True.
No, is there a structural issue at play here? And we talk about that. It's basically the fact that there's very little social safety net in this country. Men are expected to be providers in a rigged game against them and under capitalism. And so giving people a broader social safety net would decrease resentment across the board, including the societal roles that are sometimes expected of men. And then when it comes to crime, sorry, 1 second, Bradley, right? It's this very similar analysis. We're talking about structural issues as opposed to like scary person, scary here.
Yeah, exactly. Also, like, yeah, 100%. Like, these red pill people will talk about, like, these red pill people will talk about how, men are constantly being put down or whatever, but like they're incapable of actually talking about some real structural issues. 100%. 100%. This is like the Jordan Peterson shtick.
You're not counting this person's lived experience. I mean,
You defunded the police or said something like that.
I mean, if I want to look about profiles about individual instances of people experiencing hardship and crime and violence towards them, I mean, I could just turn on the local news and I'll get basically that coverage no matter what. I find that to be completely horrible, which is why we have a structural analysis about societal ills and what leads to some of those instances. Sorry, Bradley, go ahead.
But I guess all I wanted to say is that I think the issue that what you're mentioning, Emma, is that the criticism kind of comes from a place of basically saying, as an example, us, it's equated that us or people like us because our prescription for caring about something like male loneliness or like crime is not watch more Andrew Tate.
True. Oh man. Yeah. I think I know where he's going, and yeah. True.
Or watch more Joe Rogan or watch more Jordan Peterson is somehow the criticism that we are.
Exactly what I said. That's the Jordan Peterson stick. Why are people stealing designer handbags? Maybe because they can't get a job or the job that pays more than peanuts. Right. Like, and you're not gonna address crime without addressing the socio-economic circumstances that create the environment for people to go down that path, right? Like, are you just gonna like snap away 100% of crime? No, but like, if you don't address the actual incentive, the actual structural problems that are creating the environment where this happens, and the incentive to do this, then you're not going to actually meaningfully address this on a societal level, right?
Not that somehow we have ceded that ground to right-wing freaks and grifters who actually, in lieu of actually helping these people with their loneliness problem.
Yeah, and these people aren't actually the same goes for, like, these people aren't actually interested in helping men, right? In helping the male loneliness problem. These people aren't actually interested in helping crime and helping people so that they don't commit crimes. By making sure that they have social safety nets and things like that. Healthcare is a huge one, by the way. Healthcare is a huge one. You give you lay down a universal healthcare system, and believe it or not, that has a huge impact on crime. The same goes for education, housing. All of these things are huge and vital. But you're not going to hear these people talk about any of that because they actually fundamentally don't care. They're there to grift off the outrage that they're supposed to sell you, that you're supposed to tune in every freaking whatever. This guy makes how often does this guy make videos? Shoot, I'm freaking hungry. Yeah, like basically like every week. You're supposed to tune in every week, to make to watch what you're supposed to be outraged about.
Problems actually further exacerbates their loneliness.
Yes, and monetize it. That's right. That was my mention of peanuts, right?
Problems by leading them down a vortex of just consuming their more and more of their content, as opposed to thinking, hey, you know what? There's no fucking public space in this country. Yeah. There's no places to hang out anymore without paying money.
Yeah, but none of these people are interested in having that because they feel like they've got theirs. Like Actual Justice Warrior, people like Actual Justice Warrior, in the terms, I guess, in the context of this video, he's fine. He doesn't need any of that. He thinks he's trying to kick the ladder under everybody else. Jordan Peterson and all these other red pill people in terms of male loneliness, yeah, they're just trying to make sure that guys keep giving them money. Are any of those people actually interested in helping? Not really. Not at all. Not at all.
You can't. People literally have zero modicum of don't have a modicum of community anymore because we have sapped up public space for profit. It's just the truth. It's the exact thesis that
if a man wears this, he's definitely getting lucky tonight.
Most jeans are either super bad.
Thank you, YouTube. You know what? That's what I needed. Thanks, YouTube.
We had on the Exurbia Now author David Masiotra a few weeks ago, who was talking about where he met.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson, a man of integrity.
Mentioned Robert Putnam's book Bowling Alone, which, while somewhat reductive in terms of labor aspects, does speak to the idea that we have basically, by virtue of so many different socioeconomic factors, completely ceded any aspect of association in American life. We literally do not have avenues to have community.
Who's gonna stand up? Who's gonna stand up for men? Who's gonna stand up for the lonely, oppressed men? I will. Also, buy my book. The world does seem to be devolving more and more into movie idiocracy.
Community with one another that don't involve either spending money or joining a cult. Yeah. It's the truth. I mean,
I agree. I mean, and I'll say what at least for me, I think my analysis of crime, the implication is that I'm a privileged white girl that doesn't understand things. And like, I've never hidden the fact that my parents were lawyers and I had a comfortable upbringing growing up in New Jersey. That is something I'm constantly conscious of. I don't necessarily think that it infringes on my coverage here in any real way.
No, because wealthy people typically have shitty views about crime, like the ones that we're criticizing right now.
Well, that's typically what I mean. I've seen it's not a coincidence that the actual crime warriors' opinions on crime are very similar to the stuff that you hear.
She keeps mispronouncing his name. That's hilarious, by the way. From maybe maybe subconsciously it's just like it's so maybe it's just so subconsciously like absurd that that his name is actual Justice Warrior. And she keeps calling him actual crime warrior. Don't ever impersonate Jordan Peterson again, or I'll come there and slap you. Yeah, I'm trying to expand my repertoire. Okay, my repertoire on absurd impersonations.
Wealthy boomers that I've had conversations with in bridge and tunnelers in Long Island and New Jersey.
Yeah.
Those are it's property owners and wealthy people who basically make those arguments, and we're trying to be representative of the advocates that we've had on this program, including one we'll have on tomorrow, who do the on-the-ground work and have some prescriptions on it based on data. Data.
And also, well, I've said a name. Cenk should not imply that people are on the take from some sort of shadowy, defund organization to undercut the work of these people. That was also a disgusting thing, and I'm tired of biting my tongue on this.
I didn't see any of this, but I trust what you're saying. I mean, I just would say, like, yeah, I mean, part of why I guess I can vouch for this is because if we did have some people that were funding us, maybe I would, like, I take public transport because we don't make a ton of money doing this.
Well, and the one thing I'll say about that too, in the context of the crime aspect, is like you were saying, I mean, you turn on Eyewitness News, the first 5 stories are a baby was thrown out a window, or a car was broken into, or someone was shot at a bodega, and as you're saying, every single one of those individual instances, not only are they horrible, but they destroy people's lives and they atomize people, but at the same time, to act as if there are no structural solutions to those problems is actually ceding any sort of ground that we can make up to others. There are structural ways to deal with that involve actually improving people's lives, and
Right, but these people are not going to advocate for any of that.
not immiserating them. They are more connected than anyone would like to think, and actually making those connections, i.e., why so many people have to pay for cars, why so many people have to struggle for housing, why so many people have to be this poor and immiserated in our societies is what leads to these individual circumstances that people want to mention on the local news. It's true. There is nothing that doesn't flow downstream from those structural issues.
The microcosm of the quote George Floyd effect versus the pandemic effect is exactly that. It is the George Floyd effect has come from the let's pathologize people who are critical of cops, whereas the COVID thing is, there's structural things that are crushing people and driving bad behavior that we don't want to see from desperate individuals. The one about pathologizing people is purely good for real estate interests and cops, and those interests are very powerful in this country, and so I don't think they need us to speak for them. I think we need to challenge that because we see the type of country that being accommodating that power is built.
Pair of Socks says dog parks are the only place to find community, but dogs can be expensive and require a bit of work. That's actually so true. Dog parks do have that's one of the rare places when I used to.
Yeah, and yet, Bradley's gonna elaborate because I remember watching this part live, and you gotta pay, you gotta have money to make sure you're able to take care of the pet.
Before my family dog passed, but that as
and yet I will say you still need somewhat of an asset in your pet.
Yes.
You need to pay for the pet,
right?
Pay for the upkeep and maintenance of the pet.
That's what Pair of Socks was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, it's just one of those things. It's interesting. Like, yes, definitely, it is a communal space, but like so many communal spaces in these areas require some sort of investment in something.
Yeah,
that's why libraries are so important, because you can sit in a library and hang out and not have to spend money on anything.
Yeah,
but people hate when homeless people do that, even though it's one of the only places they can hang out, and they deserve to be there.
True. Oh, yeah. Plus, dog parks aren't everywhere. Exactly. Coal and new gas power plants will have to meet climate pollution targets. The EPA finalized rules on Thursday today to limit the pollution from power plants that drive climate change. Power plants are the second biggest source of planet-heating greenhouse gases behind transportation, according to the EPA. Under the regulations, existing coal and new natural gas-fired power plants that run more than 40% of the time would have to eliminate 90% of the CO2 emissions, the main driver of global warming. Some power plants don't run continuously and are brought online when electricity demand is high. Existing coal power plants would have to meet that standard by 2032 if they plan to operate after 2039. The EPA is delaying a similar rule for existing natural gas-fired power plants and likely until after the November election. The EPA is finalizing 4 separate rules that reduce pollution from fossil fuel-fired power plants, protect communities from pollution, and improve public health, said Michael Regan, the EPA administrator, in a call with reporters. In addition to the climate regulation, the agency issued rules to limit water pollution from coal plants, strengthen regulations on coal ash, and limit mercury and other toxins from burning coal for electricity. The EPA labeled carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases a danger to public health and welfare 15 years ago. But legal challenges from the fossil fuel interests and their allies delayed the finalization of rules to limit climate warming gases from the power section. Environmental groups are generally welcome the final rules. This is a big deal. This ends the age of unlimited carbon emissions from power plants, said Manish Bapna, the president and chief executive of the National Resource Defense Council. Bapna predicts that the new power plant rule will also drive up investment, innovation, and good jobs in the clean energy economy of the future and gives industry the certainty it needs to meet growing demands in the cleanest, cheapest, and most reliable way possible. Nice. Nice, but within that utility industry, there's less optimism and more warnings about the reliability of the U.S. power grid. The path outlined by the EPA today is unlawful, unrealistic, and unachievable. Cool. Said Jim Matheson, the CEO of National Rural Electric Cooperative Association, in a statement. The group's members get 63% of their electricity from burning fossil fuels. Yeah, makes sense why he thinks that way. Plus, yes, get it done yesterday, and that was way too late. Yeah. We're what's the saying? $1 a day late and $1 short. Matheson argued that the rules overstep the EPA's authority. Like, hold on. Like, that is so absurd to say that the Environmental Protection Agency is overstepping their authority by, checks notes, protecting the environment. This is so frustrating. It's frustrating. It really is. Like, you would think that something like, managing output, regardless of what it is, CO2 or otherwise, in the goal or in the service of protecting the environment and protecting our air and our water. Like, that's literally what the EPA's job is supposed to be. Yeah. I saw John Oliver's segment on this. Basically, our infrastructure is super old and needs to be overhauled. It will be timely and expensive, but we should start now. 100%. And because a lot of this isn't nationalized, companies, they're not, the reason why this is happening is because companies aren't going to, put forth the money if they don't have to, My prime example is PG&E. In California, PG&E has infrastructure that's like decades and decades old, but they're not going to spend the money to upgrade it because they're operating a for-profit business. Matheson argues that the rules overstep the EPA's authority, rely on technologies that are not ready to deploy, and don't give existing coal and new gas power plants enough time to comply. Well, too bad. Environmental groups say despite the industry's concern, experience shows that the power sector is good at meeting new targets and maintaining a reliable grid. Every time the EPA tightens pollution standards for various industry sectors, but definitely the power sector says that the sky's going to fall and this is too expensive and we're not going to be able to keep the lights on, says Gudrun Thompson, senior attorney at the Southern Environmental Law Center, and then it just doesn't end up happening. EPA included temporary exemptions in the new rule so that in an emergency, power plant operators can produce electricity for the grid without having to comply with the regulations. Some of the EPA's justification for the rules rely on projections about how fast new technologies to reduce pollution develop, notably carbon capture and storage on power plant smokestacks. CCS captures carbon dioxide to keep it out of the atmosphere and stores it, usually underground. That technology isn't fully proven, and it comes with controversy such as building more pipelines through communities. Also, like, that's not fundamentally addressing the problem, right? Like, we can't just slap on a little tiny Band-Aid and cover the arterial bleed that's happening. Still Series, a nonprofit group focused on market-based solutions to the environmental problem, analyzed the EPA's nearly 50-year record of making such projections and found the agency has a strong track record. The report finds new regulations end up driving innovation and cost-cutting, and are cost-cutting. The EPA's new rules aim to get the country closer to Biden's administration's climate goal of eliminating the country's greenhouse gas by 2050. Other recent initiatives, including rules that require more cars to be electric, tighter energy efficiency standards for appliances, and switching buildings from gas to electric. If these power plant rules survive an expected legal challenge, they'll create extra costs for utilities and plant owners to install pollution controls, but the EPA finds those costs would largely be offset by government finance incentives because technology tends to get cheaper over time. Also, like, it's not just like the upfront brute costs. There's a lot of externalities that come with making sure that you have better health, better air and water, right? Like, you don't have negative externalities, like more people sick, you know, which means that those people aren't able to work, which means that, like, you know how these things have a domino effect. And the projected climate and public health benefit far out. There you go. Yeah, I should have just kept reading. The projected climate and public health benefit far outweigh the cost. The EPA says the agency estimates the U.S. will save $70 billion over the next 2 decades. That includes 1.3 billion metric tons of avoided carbon pollution through 2047, and equivalent to the annual emissions of 328 million gasoline cars. Reducing climate pollution also eliminates other air pollution such as particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxide. The EPA estimates that in 2035, that will prevent 1,200 premature deaths, 360,000 cases of asthma attacks, avoid 48,000 school absences, and 57,000 lost workdays. The legal basis for the new rule started with the Supreme Court's landmark 2007 Massachusetts v. EPA decision. It concluded that the EPA is required to regulate carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions under the Clean Air Act because that's what they would purportedly do. Okay. In 2014, the Obama administration proposed its Clean Power Plan aimed at cutting carbon dioxide emissions from power plants 32% from 2005 levels by 2030. That plan faced legal challenges and never went into effect. Still, the country met that goal well before 2030 as coal-fired power plants were replaced by natural gas plants that emit less climate pollution. In 2019, former President Trump replaced the Obama-era Clean Power Plan with his much weaker Affordable Clean Energy Rule, but then he lost the 2020 election to Biden, who came into office with the most ambitious plan to address climate change of any major party candidate in U.S. history. The Biden administration set a goal of eliminating climate pollution from the power sector by 2035. Scientists say that's what's needed to limit warming to 1.5. It's not happening. Over pre-industrial levels to avoid the worst effect of climate change. Global average temperatures have already risen about 1.2. In 2022, the Supreme Court weighed in again and restricted the EPA's option for regulating power plant emissions. Justices said that without a specific law, the agency cannot force the entire power generation industry to move away from fossil fuels toward less polluting energy sources. Then, like, why have the EPA in the first place, right? Like, the whole point of having the bureaucracy it is so that Congress, who and this is true, are not like climate freaking scientists or anything like that. so that Congress doesn't have to legislate every single little thing. That's why we have these things. That's why we have like the transportation bureaucracy. That's why we have the environmental protection bureaucracy. That's why we have um, uh, uh, the FCC as another example. We can't expect Congress to literally know every single thing about everything to be able to legislate, everything. Simon Locker, welcome. If I'm not mistaken, if we stop putting any carbon in the air this minute, we'll still go over the 1.5. Yeah, I don't doubt it. That ship has sailed. In fact, you don't even hear climate scientists talk about 1.5 anymore. No, but Congress should listen to experts when they don't know the subject themselves. Correct. NPR is going to NPR, though. Yep. So instead, the EPA has created regulations governing individual power plants. The agency and environmental groups believe that will allow the rules to survive scrutiny from a court dominated by conservative justices. But even if the rules survive a court challenge, a future administration could change it again. That means these regulations likely will be an issue in this year's presidential campaign. Or they can plug up their ears and go la 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 like they're currently doing. It's not happening. Nothing's happening. One second, folks. So yesterday, NOK Life pointed out that net neutrality is back. So let's talk about it for a bit. Net neutrality rules restored by U.S. agency, reversing the Trump era rules. The U.S. Federal Communication Commission, the FCC, voted 3-2 on Thursday today to reinstate landmark net neutrality rules and reassume regulatory oversight of broadband internet rescinded under former President Trump. The commission voted along party lines to finalize a proposal first advanced in October to reinstate open internet rules adopted in 2015 and reestablish the commission's broadband authority. I hope they put in some safeguards to keep it. Unfortunately, that's kind of difficult because all this is dependent. Like that's like the really big that's the really big rub, right? Because like at any point another administration can come in and change the makeup of these bureaucracies anyways. So yeah, whether you're talking about like climate change regulations or something like this, it's always dependent on the administration that controls said bureaucracy, which is why the Republicans are the conservatives are really pushing this idea of controlling the entire bureaucracy through their Project 2025 plan. At least in the executive, the bureaucracies that the executive has access to. Kamikaze, welcome. Three-two is a very narrow win. Yep. I have a cold. Oh no. Well, I hope you feel better soon. That's never fun. The FCC chair, Jessica Rosen-Worcel, said the agency believes every consumer deserves internet access that is fast, open, and fair. True, the last FCC threw this authority away and decided that broadband needed no supervision. Net neutrality refers to the principle that internet service providers should enable access to all content and applications regardless of the source and without favoring or blocking particular products or websites. The FCC said it was also using its new authority to order the U.S. units of China Telecom, Unicom, and China Mobile to discontinue broadband internet access service in the U.S. Rosen-Worcel noted that I'm never going to be able to pronounce this. Rosen-Worcel noted that the FCC has taken similar actions against Chinese telecom companies in the past using existing authority. Reinstating the net neutrality rule has been a priority for President Biden, who signed a July 2021 executive order encouraging the FCC to reinstate net neutrality rules adopted under former President Obama. Better today, that's good to hear. Democrats are stymied. Democrats were stymied for nearly 3 years because they did not take the majority control of the 5-member FCC until October. This wouldn't have happened under Trump. I can assure you, they could have sold this to Trump regardless. Just to be clear, like Trump doesn't care about any of this. Trump would have gone in any direction. Trump is the type of dude who just goes like this and looks where the wind is blowing, okay? Democrats were stymied for nearly 3 years because they did not take majority control of the 5-member FCC until October. Under Trump, the FCC has argued that net neutrality rules were unnecessary, blocked innovation, and resulted in a decline in network investment by internet service providers, a contention disputed by Democrats. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce criticized the FCC action, saying it was imposed a flawed pre-television era regulatory structure on broadband and will only deter the investments and innovation necessary to connect all Americans. Public interest group Free Press said the vote is a major victory for public interest, saying it empowers the FCC to hold companies like AT&T and Comcast, Spectrum, and Verizon accountable for a wide range of harms to internet users across the U.S. A group of Republican lawmakers, including House Energy and Commerce Committee Chair Kathy McMorris Rodgers and Senator Ted Cruz, called the plan an illegal power grab that would expose the broadband industry to an oppressive regulatory regime, giving the agency and states power to impose rate regulation. Unbundled obligations and tax broadband internet providers. What's wrong with that? Democrats said that the FCC, Democrats on the FCC say they will not set rate regulations, which, okay. The Computer and Communications Industry Association's members include Amazon, Apple, and Google, and Meta, Facebook, back net neutrality, arguing that the rules must be reinstated to preserve open access to the internet. U.S. Telecom, whose members include AT&T and Verizon and others, called reinstating net neutrality entirely counterproductive, unnecessary, and an anti-consumer regulatory distraction. Despite the 2017 decision to withdraw the requirement at the federal level, a dozen states have net neutrality laws or regulations in place. Industry groups abandoned legal challenges to those state requirements in 2022. Hey, some slightly good news. Some slightly good news. GOP-controlled Arizona House votes to repeal the literal pre-Civil War era abortion ban. Measures now go to the Senate. That's what I'm talking about. Public pressure. Public pressure and campaigning, and protesting definitely, and keeping a spotlight on this issue definitely is a factor here. And they know, Republicans know that this is gonna destroy them. But it's too late. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late. Vote all these fuckers out. The Arizona House on Wednesday narrowly voted to repeal the near total abortion ban dating from 1864. The 32-28 vote came after passionate speeches from Republicans describing in graphic detail the abortion process as they argued for a no vote. I can only imagine what those speeches were. But with Republicans Matt Gress of Phoenix, Justin Wilmeth of Phoenix, Tim Dunn of Yuma joining with all 29 Democrats, the House Bill 2677 passed. Republican Representative Barbara Parker said, while critics of the 1864 law call it archaic, it's the repeal that thrusts Arizona back to prehistoric times and does not respect the life of unborn children. What are you talking about, dude? This is so absurd. Yeah, it is effing way too close. I can hear their silent screams with my voice, so I vote no. What? What? There was little response as the bill passed, but anger bubbled over when Gress then mentioned that the bill will be sent to the Senate and have it returned unamended so it could immediately be transmitted to Governor Katie Hobbs for her action. That motion failed, but it unleashed an immediate anger response from Republicans who saw the motion as unnecessary and divisive. Republican Speaker Pro Tem Travis Grantham said the motion drives a knife into the House chamber, which has endured 3 successive weeks of tense and dramatic debate over the law that the state Supreme Court upheld as state law on April 9th. Flubbed the line, or maybe that's what they meant to say. House Speaker Ben Toma immediately removed Gress as well as Representative Oscar De Los Santos from Phoenix, from a Democrat from Phoenix, from a key committee that is pivotal to the work on the state budget. The vote turns attention on the state Senate, which is poised to take up the matter next Wednesday, and if there is even agreement to bring it up for a vote. Republicans are still working on a possible referrals that could put competing abortion measures on the November ballot, which, pay attention, folks, okay? Pay attention, because there are going to be competing measures, but there is going to be a measure on the ballot to protect bodily autonomy. They are looking for ways to blunt the impact of the initiative drive that would allow abortions until viability, usually 22 to 24 weeks of pregnancy, with exceptions in some circumstances. The House does not have any bill on its calendar as lawmakers hold their now weekly Wednesday meetings, but lawmakers can introduce motions. The Senate, which last week introduced its own abortion repeal, has several non-related bills on the agenda. So that's where we're at on this one. The trick is to bring back a law over the Arizona Territory from the 1800s. Was a dirty one. They're off, and they're off base to cry about this 100%. Not to mention, man, these people can honestly, unequivocally go F themselves, because these people are so driven to control people's bodily autonomy when they have absolutely no business in any of this. This is between the person and their doctor. This is about bodily autonomy and the right to self-determination. These people have absolutely no business interjecting in any of that, quite frankly. None. The only thing that the government, state, local, or other, or federal, or otherwise, the only business that it has is to protect that right. It's to protect the right to bodily autonomy and the right to self-determination. That is the only thing that the government, in whatever capacity, has any business doing. Full stop. Plus, how many of their wives and daughters are going to still get them? Yeah, 100%. Yeah. This is not going to personally affect them because they're wealthy enough. If they need an abortion, they're wealthy enough. They will always be able to have access. No doubt about it. All right, folks, we got one more. Yeah, it's almost like a necessary part of society, but sure, let's criminalize it. Yeah. And, I'll say this again and again and again and again and as many times as long as these people exist. A movement that doesn't respect bodily autonomy is a movement that needs to be destroyed. It's a movement that needs to be destroyed. If they can't respect bodily autonomy, which is like the most basic and fundamental thing, then all bets are off, right? I wish they'd criminalize those huge trucks and never see a day of hauling or mud. True. True. Ironically enough, those same people would be like decrying that's governmental overreach. Ironically, those same people would decry that something like that would be extreme governmental overreach. Fascinating. All right, folks, we got one more. Hey, this is this is just getting better and better, folks. This is just recent. Not breaking, but it's pretty freaking recent. I think it happened today or yesterday. Or I think I woke up to this news. Arizona grand jury indicts Mark Meadows, Giuliani, and other Trump allies for the 2020 election interference. Good. Freaking good. An Arizona grand jury has indicted 18 allies of Trump for their efforts to subvert the 2020 election, including former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, including former White House, and attorneys Rudy Giuliani and Boris Epshteyn. The indictments, which include felony counts of conspiracy, fraud, forgery, also describes as Trump as an unindicted co-conspirator. Jeez. Defendants and unindicted co-conspirators schemed to prevent a lawful transfer of the presidency to keep unindicted co-conspirator 1 in office against the will of Arizona voters. Whew. Jesus. Yeah, prosecute them all, in my opinion. The rest of the states that this happened in should continue to follow suit. So Georgia, Arizona, I think there was another, let's call them that from now on. Yeah. Unindicted co-conspirator number one. Um, shoot. There's another state that was considering charges, but they didn't, or something to that effect. I want to say Wyoming, Wisconsin. Was another state that was considering, or I know we went over this. In any case, all of the states where this happened, because there were several states, they should absolutely all be prosecuted. The names of the 7 defendants, including Mark Meadows, Giuliani, and Epstein, are redacted, but the document makes clear who they are by describing their roles. Others include Attorney John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, and Christina Bobb, as well as the Trump 2020 campaign operative Mike Roman. Ken Chesbro, hey! An attorney who helped devise Trump's post-election strategy is described as unindicted co-conspirator number 4. The 3 unindicted co-conspirators are State Senator Kelly Townsend, former State Representative Mark Fincham, and former Arizona GOP lawyer Jack Wilenchuk. The only defendants whose names are visible in the version of the indictment released by the Arizona Attorney General's office on Wednesday evening are the 11 Republicans who falsely posed as the state's presidential electors despite Biden's narrow victory there. Among them, former GOP chairwoman Kelly Ward, State Senator Jake Hoffman, Anthony Kern, and Arizona's RNC committee Tyler Bauer. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays, a Democrat, has been helming the aggressive investigation. Although she initially appeared to be focused primarily on the false electors, in recent months it became clear that the scope of the probe was broader than previously understood and swept up prominent Trump allies at the national level. Nice. Mays is the 5th prosecutor to bring criminal charges over the sprawling multi-state bid by Trump and his allies to upend the 2020 results. Special counsel Jack Smith has charged Trump with federal crimes for those efforts. Prosecutors in Georgia have charged Trump and many of his allies for their efforts to overturn the results in that state, including the fake elector plot. Prosecutors in Michigan and Nevada have also charged Republicans who posed as fake electors in those states. Michigan prosecutors revealed Wednesday that Trump is an unindicted co-conspirator. Jeez, yeah, you know what? True. I'm just going to call Donald Trump unindicted co-conspirator number 1. And many of the newly charged defendants in Arizona, including Meadows, Giuliani, Eastman, and Ellis, was also charged in a Georgia case. Ellis pled guilty in Georgia and avoided jail time. Meadows and Giuliani and Eastman have pled not guilty. The charges against Bob are notable because she was recently elevated to a senior position at the RNC, focused on election integrity. Nice meme. Mays was elected as Arizona's Attorney General in 2022, replacing a Republican. As a result, her probe of the 2020 election plot got off to a later start than those of her counterparts in other states. But recently it appeared to be gathering momentum, with numerous witnesses receiving subpoenas to appear before a grand jury, including several of the false electors. Hoffman, one of the state lawmakers to face charges, appeared before the grand jury on April 9th and asserted his Fifth Amendment right. Mays also subpoenaed several figures in Trump's national orbit, including 2 Republican members of Congress, Paul Gosar and Andy Biggs, who played vocal roles in Trump's bid to overturn the election. Neither Gosar nor Biggs, however, were considered targets of the probe, and they were not charged in the indictment. Mays also spoke to Chesbro, a Trump attorney who helped craft the fake elector strategy and appeared to be cooperating with the probe. And her team questioned Rusty Bowers, who was Arizona's Speaker of the House in 2020, and resisted intense pressure from Trump allies to move to overturn Biden's victory. Yeah, it's really just corruption. Correct. Correct. A witness who testified to the grand jury told Politico that grand jurors appeared to come from a mix of political backgrounds. Some asked questions that suggested they sympathized with Democrats, while others sounded more politically conservative, and others were inscrutable. The witness was granted anonymity to discuss secret proceedings. Regardless of the politics, the witness described the jurors on the whole as energetic and proactive, driving the substantial line of questioning, even while prosecutors seem more focused on nuts and bolts efforts to substantiate discrete pieces of evidence. Nice. So I suppose we'll put a tab on that and follow up on these on this case as well. Nice. Very nice. All right. Fun stuff. Folks, I've got to get going. I know that, the stream was a bit, Hey, Knuckles comes out tomorrow. I saw commercials for that. That's pretty cool. I've seen 2 of the Sonic movies. Yes, that's right. Movie night on Saturday. Hello, 20-hour account. Bye-bye. Anyways, thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, these fools. Never fails, right? Never fails. Never fails. Yeah, they don't even bring it anymore. It's pretty low energy. They're not sending their best, folks. Or maybe they are, I don't know. Movie night Saturday, folks. Join the Discord, ! Discord. You can type it in chat at any point. Join the Discord. We'll be doing the movie night Saturday, around 6 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to be a part of that, just join. For those of you on the YouTube, thank you so much for liking the stream. I see you. Thank you. If you want to support the channel, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe. Biddies, everything helps. Follow on Twitch. Follow us here on Twitch. Consider checking out the merch store. Click by typing ! merch. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kamikaze, I appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat, for modding the chat. I will be back Monday. Again, join the Discord if you want to join the monthly movie night. All right, folks. I got to get going. Thank you all for stopping by. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one Monday at the usual time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. See ya. Be safe. Thank you. I will. All right, folks. Go show Tina some love, all right? We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.